My parents kicked me out at 16 so my older sister could move back in with her boyfriend, but their greed backfired when my grandparents threatened their inheritance. It's always been obvious that my parents never loved me, but it wasn't until last week when I turned 16 that I finally got hardcore evidence. It started with business as usual, zero celebration, zero cake. But then they surprised me with a gift, except it wasn't for me. They kicked me out of the house. The reason? My older sister Cassie. She's their golden child and always has been. I'm socially awkward and never had a girlfriend. Meanwhile, she was the popular girl back in high school, but now she's 8 months pregnant. On my birthday morning, my parents woke me up and told me to start packing. We have 4 bedrooms, and they wanted one for the newborn, one for my sister, and one for her boyfriend, at my expense. So I was being booted to my uncle's house. After a few minutes of silence, they promised to cover all my expenses until I turned 18, as long as it wasn't under their roof anymore. Cassie wasn't even home during this conversation, and I knew that was intentional so she wouldn't witness this and feel guilty. Like any 16-year-old being told they're getting kicked out on their birthday, I felt crushed, but I knew nothing I could say would make them actually love me. I spent my birthday stuffing belongings into trash bags. They helped me pack, but I think they were just speeding up my exit. Once finished, they drove me to my uncle's place and chatted happily the entire trip. At one point, my mom turned to my dad with a huge smile. Hey, now that he's gone, we can finally order some Indian food. When we arrived, they pulled to the curb and drove off before I even made it to the front door. When my uncle opened the door, he wrapped his arms around me and warmly welcomed me in. I broke down crying because it made me realize how terrible my parents actually are. I opened up to him and he seemed completely shocked. After I recounted the morning's events, his friendly smile transformed into an angry scowl. He grabbed his phone and disappeared into another room. His voice erupted through the walls, completely out of character since he rarely raises his voice. Turns out my dad had told him that I'd actually proposed this living arrangement myself and was totally cool with moving out. This explained why my uncle had agreed to take me in. After that call, he grabbed me ice cream and told me he was sorry for not doing something sooner. He said my parents are the adults and my safety and happiness should have always been their priority. But his reassurance wasn't enough. My parents had literally chosen to give their guest room to Cassie's boyfriend, who's 24 with a steady job and apartment lease. So I decided to expose my parents online and let the internet deal with them. I waited until my uncle napped and posted what happened. I included everything: the favoritism, the insults, and the borderline abandonment. When I turned my phone back on an hour later, it had gone viral to all the wrong people. The post had been seen by tons of relatives, and my inbox was flooded with messages. Family members commented expressing support and offering help. That felt uplifting until I read my parents' messages, all filled with rage. My dad even wrote that he wished I'd never been born. For about a week, I had no interaction with my parents. But then they appeared outside my school looking livid. My friends formed a protective barrier around me. They kept shouting my name until I finally responded. I declared I wanted nothing to do with them anymore, but they insisted I needed to come home immediately. Once my friends were out of earshot, they revealed they needed me back to secure their inheritance. After my post went viral, my grandparents discovered everything. My dad's parents are seriously wealthy and threatened him that continuing to treat me this way would cost him his inheritance. They said unless my parents reconciled with me and ensured I felt loved, whatever my father was supposed to inherit would go to my uncle instead. My dad couldn't afford losing this inheritance. We're talking serious money, but they lacked the intelligence to at least pretend they genuinely wanted me home. They made it seem like they were doing me a favor by taking me back, so I told them I couldn't care less about their inheritance and walked away. My uncle contacted his attorney about changing my custody arrangement. I called my grandparents to thank them for intervening, but explained I genuinely didn't want to return. Living with my parents had been suffocating, and despite constantly hoping things would improve, they never did. My grandparents assured me that if living with my uncle was what I wanted, they'd make it happen. I decided to visit my sister after she texted asking to meet. At her boyfriend's apartment, she immediately apologized for never defending me, even though she knew our parents played favorites. She revealed that our parents never discussed the living arrangements with her at all. She was blindsided learning they'd kicked me out to accommodate her baby and boyfriend. After reading my post, she realized she couldn't continue enabling their behavior and moved out within a week. Days later, my uncle announced my parents agreed to surrender their parental rights. I discovered they only did this because my grandparents presented them with an ultimatum: lose their entire inheritance or keep 50% but give up custody and promise never to contact me again without permission. Guess which option my parents chose? Not surprised whatsoever. It confirms I dodged a major bullet. I'm happy living with my uncle, and my sister and I are rebuilding our relationship while my parents face the consequences of choosing money over their children.